Commander Lee Ji-won stood at the observation deck of New Busan Mining Outpost, watching the twin suns of Kepler 442b paint the sky in shades of orange and red. The morning shift was beginning, and she could see the massive mining mechs moving across the landscape like metal giants. 847 people called this remote world home, and Ji-won was responsible for every one of them. The outpost stretched across a valley rich with rare earth elements that Earth desperately needed. What had started as a simple mining operation 5 years ago had grown into a proper colony. There were farms now, schools for the children, even a small hospital. The prefab buildings had been replaced with permanent structures made from local stone and metal. Ji-won sipped her morning coffee and reviewed the daily reports on her tablet. Food production was up 12% from last month. The new hydroponics bay was working better than expected. Dr. Park Min-ho had submitted another request for more lab equipment to study the local plant life. She made a note to approve it. Min-ho's research had already led to 3 new medicines and improved crop yields. Down in the mining sector, engineer Kim Yuna was having her own morning routine. She walked through the machine bay, checking each of the 24 mining mechs. These weren't the sleek robots from Earth's automated mines. Out here on the frontier, everything had to be built tough and fixable with basic tools. "Morning, boss," called out Technician Pack from under Mech 7. "Got that hydraulic leak fixed. She's ready to go." Yuna nodded and made a mark on her checklist. Each mech could move 50 tons of ore per hour when running properly. Keep them running and the colony prospered. Let them break down, and people went hungry waiting for the next supply ship from Earth. The mechs weren't just for mining anymore. Yuna had been quietly modifying them over the past year. Stronger armor plating here, more powerful hydraulic systems there. Officially, these were safety improvements. Unofficially, Yuna worried about the day when New Busan might need to defend itself. Captain Choi Daeho shared those worries. As head of colony security, he knew how vulnerable they were. New Busan had no military ships, no professional soldiers. The defense grid consisted of 6 orbital platforms with mining lasers that could theoretically be used as weapons. The colony militia was made up of volunteers with basic training and hunting rifles. Daeho was running the morning security drill when his communication device buzzed. The message was from Ji-won. "Report to command center immediately." He found Ji-won, Min-ho, and Yuna already gathered around the main display screen. The expression on Ji-won's face told him this wasn't routine. "Show him," Ji-won said to Min-ho. The scientist pulled up a star chart showing the local sector. 12 red dots were moving toward their system. Long-range sensors picked these up an hour ago. Unknown ships heading directly for us. Daeho studied the display. "How many?" 12 large vessels, much bigger than our cargo ships. "They'll reach our system in 72 hours. Yuna crossed her arms. "Could be traders. Or maybe Earth finally sent us some proper defense ships." Min-ho shook his head. "The energy signatures are wrong. These aren't human ships. The power output is massive, and the design..." He switched to a closer view of one vessel. "I've never seen anything like it." The ship on the screen looked more grown than built. Its surface was covered in crystalline formations that pulsed with blue light. No smooth curves or familiar angles. It looked alien. "First contact," Ji-won said quietly. "After all these years of wondering if we're alone in the universe." "Maybe they're friendly," Yuna said, but her voice lacked conviction. Daeho was already thinking tactically. "If they're not friendly, what are our options?" "We have 6 orbital defense platforms," Ji-won replied. "Mining lasers, not military weapons. The militia has 200 volunteers with basic training, 3 transport ships that could evacuate maybe 300 people, and 500 people would be left behind." Daeho finished. The room fell silent. Everyone understood the mathematics of their situation. If these aliens came in peace, New Busan would make history as humanity's first contact with alien life. If they came with hostile intentions, the colony was essentially defenseless. "We need to try communication," Ji-won decided. "Min-ho, can you modify our transmission array to send messages on multiple frequencies?" "Yes, but if their technology is as advanced as these scans suggest, they probably already know we're here." Yuna was studying the ship designs on her tablet. "These vessels are huge. Each one could probably carry thousands of crew members. If they wanted to destroy us, why send such a massive fleet? Maybe they don't know how dangerous we are," Daeho said with dark humor. 12 battleships to destroy a mining colony seems like overkill. Ji-won made her decision. We prepare for both possibilities. Minho, start working on communication protocols. Try every frequency, every mathematical sequence you can think of. Yuna, I want those mining mechs ready for anything. Check the underground tunnel systems. Daeho, start evacuation planning and put the militia on alert. What do we tell the colonists? Daeho asked. The truth. They have a right to know what's coming. Over the next few hours, word spread through New Busan. The reaction was mixed. Some families immediately began packing to leave on the transport ships. Others refused to abandon the homes they had built. The children asked excited questions about what aliens might look like. The adults tried to hide their fear. Dr. Minho worked frantically in his lab, preparing dozens of different message formats. Mathematical constants, prime numbers, periodic table arrangements, even pictures showing human anatomy and culture. If the aliens were scientists like him, maybe they would recognize the universal language of knowledge. Yuna gathered her engineering team in the machine bay. I need you to start modifications on all the mechs. Reinforce the operator compartments. Install emergency communication systems. And I want explosive charges rigged on every tunnel entrance. Boss, those are mining explosives, Technician Pak protested. They could bring down half the tunnels. That's the idea, Yuna replied grimly. Captain Daeho assembled the militia in the community center. 200 volunteers ranging from 18-year-old students to 60-year-old farmers. Most had never been in real combat. I won't lie to you, he told them. If these aliens are hostile, we're outgunned and outnumbered. But this is our home. These are our families. We have advantages they don't know about. We know every tunnel, every building, every hiding place. If it comes to a fight, we make them pay for every meter. Private Kim raised his hand. What if they have weapons we can't fight? Then we get creative, Daeho answered. Humans are good at that. Meanwhile, Commander Ji-won stood in her office looking out at the colony she had helped build. Children were playing in the schoolyard. Farmers were tending their crops. Engineers were maintaining the machines that kept everyone alive. Normal life continuing despite the approaching unknown. Her communication device chimed. A message from Dr. Minho. First transmission ready. Sending on all frequencies. The message was simple. Mathematical sequences, star charts showing Earth's location, and recordings of human music and speech. A peaceful greeting from one intelligent species to another. They waited for a response. Hours passed. The alien fleet continued its approach, now 60 hours away. No answer came to their transmissions. Maybe they're not ready to communicate yet, Minho suggested. Different species might have different protocols. But deep in space, the alien fleet had already analyzed New Busan's transmissions. The creatures aboard those crystal ships felt only disgust at the organic contamination they had discovered. Communication was unnecessary. Purification would begin soon. As the second day passed with no response, the mood in New Busan grew darker. Families were making difficult decisions about who would leave on the transport ships. The engineering teams were working around the clock to strengthen defenses. The militia was training with weapons that seemed inadequate against an advanced alien civilization. Commander. Ji-won made one final transmission. As the alien fleet reached the edge of their solar system, unknown vessels. This is Commander Lee Ji-won of New Busan Colony. We are peaceful humans seeking friendship with other intelligent life. Please respond. The only answer was silence, and then the aliens began transmitting a message of their own. The alien message came without warning. Every screen in New Busan flickered as the transmission overrode their communication systems. The image that appeared was disturbing. A creature that looked like it was made of living crystal, with multiple eyes that glowed with cold blue light. Organic contamination detected on planetary surface. The alien spoke in perfect English, though its voice sounded like grinding stone. This world has been marked for purification. Carbon-based life forms will be eliminated in one solar rotation. Resistance is futile. Surrender is irrelevant. The transmission ended, leaving the colonists staring at blank screens. Commander Ji-won felt her stomach drop. They learned our language from our transmissions. Dr. Minho was already running scans of the alien fleet. 12 ships, each one twice the size of our largest transport. Energy readings are off the charts. They have technology we can't even understand. How did they override our systems? Yuna asked. Their transmission was on a frequency that doesn't exist in our physics, Minho replied, his voice shaking. They're operating with science we haven't discovered yet. Captain Deho was studying tactical displays. 24 hours to prepare for invasion. What are our options? Ji-won looked around the command center. These people were counting on her to find a solution that didn't exist. We tried diplomacy one more time. Maybe we can reason with them. She opened a channel to the alien fleet. This is Commander Ji-won. We mean no harm to your people. We can discuss sharing this world. There's room for both our species here. The response came immediately. The same crystal creature appeared on screen. Organic matter corrupts. Silicon-based life is pure. Your existence pollutes this sector. Purification begins now. The transmission cut off. A moment later, alarms began blaring throughout the colony. Incoming, Yuna shouted. Multiple projectiles from the alien fleet. Through the observation windows, they could see streaks of blue light falling from the sky like deadly rain. The first impacts were devastating. The communications array exploded in a shower of sparks and metal. The main power station disappeared in a ball of fire. Half the colony's surface structures were destroyed in the first 10 minutes. Get everyone to the underground shelters, Ji-won ordered. The colonists had practiced this drill many times, but never under actual bombardment. Families ran through the streets carrying children and emergency supplies. The mining tunnels had been converted into emergency shelters months ago, deep enough underground to survive most attacks. In the engineering bay, Yuna was trying to save as much equipment as possible. Load the portable mining lasers. Get the fabrication units to the lower levels. Technician Pak was working frantically to disconnect a massive 3D printer. This thing weighs 2 tons. Then leave it. Take the spare parts instead. Above them, the orbital bombardment continued. The aliens were methodically destroying every structure on the surface. The defense platforms returned fire with their mining lasers, but the beams barely scratched the alien ship's crystal hulls. Dr. Minho was in his lab, downloading every file he could onto portable drives. His research on the planet's ecosystem might be their only advantage. The electromagnetic properties of the core, he muttered to himself. They might not know about the EM fields. A blast shook the building. Minho grabbed his data drives and ran for the tunnels. Captain Deho was coordinating the evacuation from the militia command post. All civilians to level 5. Militia units secure the tunnel entrances. Sir, what about the transport ships? Asked Sergeant Lim. Deho looked at the tactical display. 3 transport ships could carry 300 people to safety, but 500 people were already in the tunnels, with more arriving every minute. The ships will never make it past the alien fleet, he realized. We're all staying. The orbital bombardment lasted 6 hours. When it finally stopped, the surface of New Busan was a smoking ruin. Every building had been destroyed. The farms were burning craters. The beautiful colony that had taken 5 years to build was gone. In the deep tunnels, 847 people waited in darkness. Emergency lights cast eerie shadows on the rock walls. Children cried softly while adults tried to comfort them with whispers of hope that nobody really felt. Commander Ji-won stood in the main tunnel, addressing her people. The surface is gone, but we're alive. These tunnels run for kilometers in every direction. We have food, water, and air recycling systems. We can survive down here. For how long? Asked Farmer Chen. As long as we need to, Ji-won replied. Dr. Minho approached her with his tablet. I've been analyzing the alien transmissions. They call themselves the Vorthak Empire. They're silicon-based life forms. To them, organic matter is literally poison. They see us the way we might see a bacterial infection. So they'll never negotiate. Yuna concluded. No. They want complete sterilization of all organic life on this planet. A new sound echoed through the tunnels, the rumble of landing ships. The Vorthak ground forces were arriving to finish what the orbital bombardment had started. Captain Deho gathered his militia commanders. They think they're hunting terrified refugees. They're wrong. We know these tunnels better than anyone. We have mining equipment that can be weaponized. And we have something they don't understand. Human stubbornness. The first Vorthak soldiers entered the tunnel system an hour later. They were tall crystalline creatures that moved on 6 legs, carrying energy weapons that could melt through solid rock. Their armor looked like it was grown rather than manufactured, with the same blue glow as their ships. They expected to find humans cowering in the darkness. Instead, they found an empty tunnel, The attack came from above. Miner Kang had rigged an excavation charge in the ceiling. When the aliens passed underneath, he triggered the explosion. Tons of rock crashed down, crushing the entire patrol. "First blood to us," Deho said grimly into his radio. Throughout the tunnel system, similar ambushes were taking place. The humans had spent months preparing these defenses. Every intersection had explosive charges. Every passage had hidden positions where militia members could fire and retreat. The Vorthak had superior weapons and armor, but they were fighting in an environment designed by their enemies. The tunnels were too narrow for their massive vehicles. Their energy weapons were less effective in the confined spaces, and they had no idea where the attacks would come from next. In the old mining control room, now lit only by emergency lighting, Yuna was modifying mining equipment into weapons of war. The rock crushers could be remote-controlled and armed with explosives. The ore haulers could be turned into mobile weapons platforms. The excavation charges could bring down entire tunnel sections on top of enemy forces. "How many Vorthak soldiers are down here?" she asked Minho. The scientist was monitoring alien communications with jury-rigged equipment. "At least 2,000. Maybe more. They're having trouble coordinating in the tunnels. Our electromagnetic interference is disrupting their signals." The planet's core contained massive deposits of rare earth elements that created natural electromagnetic fields. The fields had always been a minor annoyance for human electronics. For the alien technology, they were a major problem. "We can use that," G1 realized. "Yuna, can you amplify the EM fields?" "Maybe. If I can get to the main mining station and overload the extraction equipment." "Do it. Minho, I need everything you know about Vorthak weaknesses. They're silicon-based, so extreme heat might damage them. Their communication systems seem vulnerable to electromagnetic interference, and they appear to be having difficulty breathing our atmosphere even with their suits." Captain Deho's voice crackled over the radio. "Enemy force approaching Tunnel 7. We need those mining mechs online." Yuna had been working on the mechs for hours, converting them from mining tools to combat vehicles. The first one came online with a grinding roar of hydraulic systems. "Mech 1 operational," she reported. "Armor plating installed, mining laser modified for combat use." The modified mech met the Vorthak patrol in the main tunnel junction. The aliens' energy weapons sparked harmlessly off the reinforced armor, while the mining laser cut through their crystalline bodies like glass. For the first time since the invasion began, the humans had scored a major victory. But as reports came in from other tunnel sections, the situation became clear. Despite their successes, the humans were still badly outnumbered. The Vorthak were adapting to tunnel warfare, bringing in smaller weapons and more maneuverable troops. "We can't win a straight fight," Deho admitted to G1 during a brief break in the battle. "Then we don't fight straight," she replied. "We make them think they're winning while we prepare something they'll never see coming." Above ground, Overlord Threxka, commander of the Vorthak fleet, studied reports from the surface battle. The organic creatures were proving more resilient than expected. Perhaps it was time to use more extreme measures. "Prepare the planet killer weapon," he ordered. "We will sterilize this world completely." In the tunnels below, Dr. Minho was making a discovery that would change everything. The planet's electromagnetic core wasn't just an inconvenience. It was a weapon waiting to be triggered. 3 days into the invasion, the tunnels of New Busan had become a maze of death. The Vorthak soldiers moved carefully through the passages, their crystalline bodies glowing blue in the darkness. They had learned to fear the humans hiding in the shadows. Captain Daiho crouched behind a mining cart in Tunnel 12, watching an alien patrol approach. 6 Vorthak soldiers moved in formation, their energy weapons sweeping left and right. They thought they were hunting helpless miners. They were wrong. "Now," Daiho whispered into his radio. Explosive charges detonated in the tunnel walls. Rock and metal crashed down, blocking the aliens' escape route. Before they could react, human militia members emerged from hidden positions, firing projectile weapons at close range. The Vorthak energy shields were designed to stop laser weapons, not old-fashioned bullets. 3 aliens fell in the first seconds of the ambush. The survivors tried to return fire, but their weapons were too powerful for the confined space. Energy beams melted rock and created dangerous cave-ins. "Fall back to position 7, Daiho ordered his team. The humans vanished into passages too narrow for the large alien soldiers to follow. Within minutes, they were setting up the next ambush 3 levels down. In the main command bunker, Engineer Yuna was coordinating a different kind of warfare. She had turned the mining operation into a weapons factory. The rock crushers, normally used to break ore into manageable pieces, had been modified into remote-controlled killers. Crusher 3 is in position, reported Technician Pak over the radio. Vorthak patrol entering the ore processing chamber. Yuna watched the security monitors as alien soldiers moved into the large underground chamber. The massive rock crusher waited silently above them, disguised among the industrial equipment. Activate Crusher 3, Yuna ordered. The machine roared to life and dropped from the ceiling. Tons of metal and hydraulic power crashed down on the alien patrol. The Vorthak soldiers were crushed before they could even scream. That's the 5th patrol today, Pak reported with grim satisfaction. But Yuna wasn't celebrating. More alien forces were entering the tunnels every hour. For every patrol they destroyed, 2 more took its place. They were winning battles but losing the war. Dr. Minho was working frantically in his makeshift laboratory, a storage room deep in the mine shaft. He had been studying captured Vorthak equipment and making disturbing discoveries. Their technology is based on crystalline computing, he explained to Commander Jiwan. Everything they build grows like a living crystal, but that makes them vulnerable to electromagnetic interference. We already knew that, Jiwan replied. The planet's EM fields are disrupting their communications. No, you don't understand. It's not just disrupting them. It's actually damaging their equipment. Look at this. Minho showed her a piece of alien technology that had been exposed to the planet's electromagnetic field. The blue glow was flickering and sections of the crystal were turning black. The EM field is killing their machines, Jiwan realized, and possibly killing them too. I think the Vorthak are more connected to their technology than we realized. They might be partly artificial beings. An explosion shook the laboratory. Somewhere above them, another battle was raging. In Tunnel 4, Militia Sergeant Lim was leading a desperate fighting retreat. His squad had been trying to collapse a main access route when a large Vorthak force surprised them. Now they were trapped with alien soldiers on both sides. Use the mining charges, Lim shouted to his demolitions expert. Private Hong triggered the explosives they had planted in the tunnel walls. The blast brought down tons of rock, sealing off one group of aliens. But the other group was still advancing, their energy weapons lighting up the tunnel like blue lightning. This way, Lim led his people into a maintenance shaft barely wide enough for humans. The larger Vorthak soldiers couldn't follow. But as they crawled through the narrow passage, they could hear the aliens using their weapons to melt through the rock behind them. They emerged in the old refinery section, where Yuna had prepared a special surprise. The humans had rigged the metal processing equipment to create a deadly trap. All units, clear the refinery. Yuna's voice came over the radio, activating molten metal flood in 30 seconds. The alien soldiers burst through the melted tunnel entrance just as Yuna triggered her trap. Molten metal from the processing furnaces poured through carefully cut channels in the floor. The superheated liquid metal flowed like lava, catching the Vorthak soldiers in a deadly flood. Even their advanced armor couldn't protect them from temperatures hot enough to melt steel. 12 alien soldiers died in seconds, but the victory came at a cost. The refinery was destroyed, and they were running out of industrial equipment to weaponize. We need a new strategy, Captain Deho reported to the command team. We're killing aliens, but they keep sending more. Our ammunition is running low and we're losing defensive positions. Commander Jiwan studied the tactical display showing tunnel positions throughout the mine. Red markers showed confirmed alien positions. Blue markers showed human forces. The red was slowly surrounding the blue. How many Vorthak are down here now? She asked. At least 4,000, Minho replied. And more landing every hour. They're also bringing in new equipment designed for tunnel fighting. As if to prove his point, an alert came over the radio. Command, this is Scout Team 2. The aliens have some kind of drill machine. It's cutting through solid rock like butter, Yuna cursed. They're making their own tunnels. All our defensive positions will be useless if they can attack from any direction. There's something else, Minho added quietly. I intercepted a Vorthak transmission. They're planning to use some kind of planet-killer weapon. They want to crack the planet open and sterilize it completely. The command bunker fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. Even if they won every battle in the tunnels, the aliens could simply destroy the entire world. How long do we have? Jiwan asked. Maybe 6 hours before they finish preparing the weapon. Yuna was already working on her tablet, pulling up geological surveys of the planet. There might be a way to stop them. But it's insane. She displayed a cross-section view of the planet's core. The core of this world is rich in rare earth elements. That's why we're here mining it. But it's also incredibly unstable. The electromagnetic fields we've been using against the aliens are just the beginning. What are you suggesting? Daeho asked. We turn the entire planet into a weapon. If we can trigger a massive seismic event, we could generate an electromagnetic pulse that would destroy every piece of Vorthak technology in orbit. Minho looked at the data with growing excitement and horror. The energy release would be enormous, like a controlled earthquake combined with an artificial aurora, but the seismic activity would make the planet uninhabitable for months. Better than being dead, Jiwon said grimly. There's another problem, Yuna continued. To trigger this kind of event, we'd need to place explosive charges directly on the planetary core. Someone would have to go down to the deepest mining shaft and manually set off the charges. How deep? 15 kilometers straight down, through alien-controlled territory, and whoever goes down there probably won't be coming back up. The command team looked at each other. They were talking about a suicide mission that might save their people, or might kill everyone on the planet. Can it work? Jiwon asked. In theory, yes. The planet is already geologically unstable. The right kind of explosion in the right place could start a chain reaction. The electromagnetic pulse would disable all alien technology. Their ships would lose power and crash, and the humans? Our technology is simpler and more robust. We might survive if we're deep enough underground. Another explosion shook the bunker. The alien drill machines were getting closer. We're out of time and options, Jiwon decided. Yuna, start preparing the charges. Minho, calculate the exact placement we'll need. Daeho, we need to buy them time. How do I do that with 4,000 aliens between us and the core shaft? Jiwon smiled grimly. We give them a target they can't resist. We're going to attack their landing site on the surface. It was the most dangerous plan any of them had ever heard. While a small team tried to reach the planetary core, the rest of the humans would have to fight their way to the surface and assault an alien base defended by thousands of enemy soldiers. It's suicide, Daeho said. Everything we've done for the past 3 days has been suicide, Jiwon replied. But we're still alive. As alarms continued to sound throughout the tunnel system, the humans began preparing for their final gamble. They would either save their world or destroy it. There was no middle ground left. The plan was simple in concept and nearly impossible in execution. Dr. Minho had to reach the deepest core sampling station, 15 kilometers below ground, and manually trigger enough explosive charges to crack the planet's crust. Engineer Yuna had to override every safety system in the mining operation and detonate all excavation charges simultaneously. Commander Jiwon and Captain Daeho had to lead a surface assault that would draw alien attention. Away from the core mission, they had 3 hours. Before the Vorthak planet killer weapon would be ready to fire. Remember, Minho said as he checked his equipment one final time. The electromagnetic pulse will destroy all electronic equipment. Once I trigger the charges, all communications will be cut off. You won't know if the plan worked until the ground starts shaking. Yuna was loading explosive charges onto a mining cart. Each charge contained enough power to level a city block. She would need dozens of them placed at precise locations throughout the tunnel system. The timing has to be perfect, she explained. If I detonate too early, the chain reaction won't reach the core. Too late, and the alien weapon destroys us first. Captain Daeho assembled the militia in the main tunnel. Of the original 200 volunteers, only 150 were still combat ready. They would be facing thousands of alien soldiers on the surface. This is not about winning, he told them. This is about buying time. Every minute we keep the aliens busy is another minute for the core team to complete their mission. Private Kim raised his hand. So what are our chances? Daeho looked at the young man who had been a farm worker just 5 days ago. Honestly, we probably won't survive the next hour, but our families are counting on us. Our world is counting on us. The militia members nodded grimly. They understood the stakes. Commander Jiwon made the final preparations. The modified mining mechs would lead the surface assault, followed by teams carrying the few remaining heavy weapons. The goal was to reach the alien landing site and destroy as many ships as possible. Move out, she ordered. 3 separate missions began simultaneously. Minho's team headed deeper into the mine, following maintenance shafts toward the planetary core. Yuna's demolition team spread throughout the tunnel system. placing charges at critical structural points. The surface assault force began the dangerous climb to ground level. Minho's journey was the most perilous. The core sampling station was in the deepest part of the mine, accessible only through a single elevator shaft that dropped straight down through solid rock. The Vorthak had been using the shaft as a staging area for their tunnel fighting equipment. "Alien patrol ahead," whispered Technician Pak, who was guiding Minho through the maintenance tunnels. Through a ventilation grate, they could see 6 Vorthak soldiers guarding the elevator entrance. Their crystalline armor glowed blue in the darkness, and their energy weapons were ready for trouble. "We need a distraction," Minho said. Pak nodded and activated a small explosive charge in a nearby tunnel. The blast echoed through the mine, and the alien soldiers immediately moved to investigate. Minho slipped past them and reached the elevator controls. The elevator car was 15 kilometers down. It would take 10 minutes to reach the surface, and he didn't have 10 minutes. Instead, Minho opened the emergency shaft and began climbing down the maintenance ladder. 15 kilometers of ladder rungs in the dark, with alien soldiers above and below him. It was a descent into hell. On the surface, the assault team was discovering just how powerful the Vorthak really were. The aliens had built a massive landing complex where New Busan's main buildings used to stand. Energy barriers protected crystalline structures that pulsed with blue light. Hundreds of alien soldiers patrolled the perimeter. "Mining Mech 1, engage the barrier generators," Jiwan ordered. The modified mining mech opened fire with its converted laser systems. The beam struck the energy barrier and created a shower of sparks, but the barrier held. "Barrier is too strong," reported the mech pilot. "We need more firepower." That's when Captain Deho made his decision. "All units concentrate fire on the barrier generator. Everything we have." The human forces emerged from the tunnel entrances around the alien base. Mining lasers, projectile weapons, and explosive charges all targeted the same point on the energy barrier. The concentrated firepower finally overloaded the generator, and a section of the barrier collapsed. "Breach. All units advance." The humans charged through the gap, catching the alien defenders by surprise. For a few precious minutes they fought with desperate fury against an enemy that had destroyed their homes and families. But the aliens quickly recovered from their surprise. Vorthak reinforcements poured out of the crystal buildings, and heavy weapons platforms began targeting the human forces. "We can't hold this position," Sergeant Lim reported as his squad took cover behind the wreckage of a mining mech. "We don't need to hold it," Jiwan replied over the radio. "We just need to keep their attention." Deep underground, Yuna was racing through the tunnels with her demolition teams. They had 47 charges to place in exactly the right locations. Each charge had to be connected to a central detonation system that would trigger them all within microseconds of each other. "Charge placement complete in Section 7, reported Demolition Team 2. Section 12 charges are online, added Team 3. Yuna checked her list. 30 charges placed, 17 to go. But alien forces were closing in on their positions. The sound of energy weapons echoed through the tunnels as Vorthak soldiers hunted the demolition teams. "Team 4 is under attack," came a panicked radio transmission. "We can't reach our target location." "Abort that position," Yuna ordered. "Move to backup location Alpha." The backup locations weren't ideal, but they would have to do. Perfect precision was becoming impossible as the aliens tightened their grip on the tunnel system. Minho was 8 kilometers down the elevator shaft when disaster struck. A Vorthak patrol discovered his route and began firing energy weapons down the shaft. The metal ladder rungs above him began melting from the intense heat. He looked down into the darkness below. 7 kilometers to go and no ladder. The only way down was to free fall and hope the emergency systems at the bottom would catch him. Minho took a deep breath and let go of the ladder. He fell through darkness for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes. The emergency gravity buffers at the bottom of the shaft activated automatically, slowing his fall just enough to prevent immediate death. He hit the platform hard, feeling ribs crack, but he was alive. The core sampling station was a small chamber carved directly into the planet's crust. Ancient mining equipment hummed with power, and the walls glowed with natural electromagnetic energy. This was the deepest humans had ever penetrated into the planet. Minho began placing his explosive charges around the chamber. Each one had to be positioned precisely to fracture the rock in exactly the right pattern. If he made a mistake, the explosion would either be too weak to trigger the chain reaction, or too strong and kill everyone on the planet. On the surface, the battle was going badly for the humans. Half their forces were dead or wounded, and the aliens were preparing a counterattack that would destroy the remaining humans completely. Fall back to the tunnels, G1 ordered, but as the humans retreated, Overlord Threxka made his own decision. The organic creatures had proven more troublesome than expected. It was time to end this permanently. Activate the planet killer weapon, he commanded from his flagship. Above the planet, the 12 Vorthak ships began moving into formation. Energy buildup readings showed massive power gathering in their crystalline hulls. In the tunnels, Yuna was making her final preparations. 43 charges were in place and connected to the detonation system. It wasn't perfect, but it would have to be enough. All charges armed and ready, she reported to Commander G1. Minho, what's your status? G1 called over the radio. 15 kilometers below, Minho was connecting the last of his core charges to the detonation system. Charges placed. Ready to trigger on your command. But before G1 could give the order, new alarms began sounding throughout the tunnel system. Massive energy buildup detected from the alien fleet, reported Dr. Minho's automated monitoring systems. They're preparing to fire the planet killer weapon. Through the tunnel speakers, Overlord Threxka's voice echoed with cold satisfaction. Organic contamination will be eliminated. Planet sterilization begins now. High above, the Vorthak fleet's weapons began to glow with terrible light. Trigger the charges, G1 screamed into her radio. All charges now. Deep in the planetary core, Dr. Minho pressed the detonation button. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the planet began to shake. The explosion started 15 kilometers below ground and raced upward through the rock like a giant fist punching through the planet's crust. Yuna's charges detonated in perfect sequence, fracturing the underground structure in exactly the pattern needed to amplify the seismic waves. The earthquake that followed was unlike anything in the planet's history. Mountains moved. Valleys formed. And from the planetary core, an electromagnetic pulse erupted into space like an artificial aurora. The pulse hit the Vorthak fleet just as they fired their planet killer weapon. Every piece of alien technology died instantly. Their crystalline computers went dark. Their energy weapons stopped working. Their life support systems failed. 12 massive battleships, suddenly the electromagnetic pulse erupted from the planet's core like a star being born underground. The energy wave raced through rock and metal and air, carrying with it the fury of a world under attack. When it reached space, it struck the Vorthak fleet with the force of nature itself. Overlord Threxka was standing on the bridge of his flagship when every system around him went dark. The blue glow that powered Vorthak technology flickered and died. Emergency lights failed. Life support stopped. Even his own crystalline implants began to crack and turn black. What is happening? He demanded. But his communication systems were dead. No one could answer. Around him, the 12 battleships of the Vorthak fleet were tumbling helplessly through space. Without power, without guidance, without life support, they were just giant chunks of dead crystal falling toward the planet below. The flagship's hull began to crack as internal pressure systems failed. Threxka watched in horror as his ship broke apart around him. The organic contamination he had come to eliminate had somehow turned the entire planet into a weapon. His last thought before the bridge section separated from the ship was impossible to accept. The soft creatures had won. On the planet's surface, Commander G1 felt the ground shake beneath her feet as seismic waves rolled across the landscape. The earthquake was massive, but the humans in the deep tunnels were protected by solid rock. Above them, the alien landing complex was being torn apart by the very forces of geology. Look up, Captain Deho shouted, pointing at the sky. Through the smoke and dust, they could see the Vorthak ships falling from orbit. Some burned up in the atmosphere like giant meteors. Others crashed into the planet's surface with impacts that could be felt hundreds of kilometers away. The largest ship, Overlord Threxka's flagship, broke into pieces as it fell, scattering debris across 3 continents. They're all falling, Sergeant Lim said in amazement. Every single ship. The electromagnetic pulse had been more effective than even Dr. Minho had predicted. The Vorthak technology wasn't just disabled, it was destroyed at the molecular level. Their crystalline computers had shattered. Their energy cores had gone dead. Their life support systems had failed completely. In the tunnels below, The human survivors were beginning to emerge from their hiding places. The seismic activity was calming down and the immediate danger was over. But the real test was just beginning. Yuna was checking her equipment in the main engineering bay. "Half our systems are fried from the EMP," she reported. "But the basic electronics are still working. We can rebuild." Dr. Minho had survived his fall to the planetary core, though he was badly injured. Rescue teams brought him back to the surface using manual equipment that hadn't been affected by the electromagnetic pulse. His first words were about the alien technology scattered across the planet. "We need to study their ships," he said from his hospital bed. "Their crystalline technology might be adaptable to human use." Commander Jiwan stood in what had been the main settlement of New Busan. The surface buildings were gone, destroyed first by alien bombardment and then by the planetary earthquake. But the humans were already planning to rebuild. "Damage report," she requested from her staff. 487 confirmed survivors. Captain Deho reported. "We lost 360 people during the invasion and the seismic event. It was a heavy loss, but it could have been much worse. Without the desperate plan to turn the planet into a weapon, everyone would have died." "What about the alien forces?" Jiwan asked. "All dead," Deho replied with grim satisfaction. "The ones on the surface were killed when their ships crashed. The ones in the tunnels suffocated when their breathing equipment failed. We found some bodies in the lower tunnels, but they all died within hours of the EMP. The Vorthak had been completely dependent on their advanced technology. When that technology failed, they had no way to survive in an environment hostile to their silicon-based biology. The oxygen-rich atmosphere that sustained human life was poisoned to them without their protective suits. Engineer Yuna was already organizing salvage operations. The alien ships are full of advanced materials, crystalline computing systems, energy storage devices, propulsion technology we've never seen before. If we can figure out how to use it, we'll be the most advanced human colony in known space," Jiwan finished. Over the following weeks, the survivors of New Busan worked to understand their new situation. The electromagnetic pulse had changed the planet's geological structure, making it more seismically active but also exposing rich veins of rare earth elements that had been buried deep underground. Dr. Minho, recovering from his injuries, made discoveries that would change human understanding of alien technology. The Vorthak crystalline systems could be adapted to work with human electronics, but only if they were isolated from electromagnetic interference. They built their entire civilization around a technology that was vulnerable to EM fields, he explained to the colony leadership. It was their greatest strength and their fatal weakness. The colony's children were the first to adapt to the new reality. They played among the crashed alien ships, collecting strange crystal fragments and asking endless questions about the creatures that had come from the stars. "Will more aliens come?" asked young Sujin, holding a piece of blue crystal that still glowed faintly. "Maybe," Commander Jiwan replied honestly. "But if they do, we'll be ready." 3 months after the invasion, a rescue fleet from Earth arrived to find something unexpected. Instead of a destroyed colony in need of evacuation, they found a thriving settlement that had become humanity's most technologically advanced outpost. The rescue fleet commander, Admiral Park, stared in amazement at the hybrid human-alien technology that now powered New Busan. "How is this possible?" "We learned from our enemies," Jiwan explained as she gave him a tour of the rebuilt colony. "Their technology is more advanced than ours, but it's also more fragile. We've combined the best of both approaches." The New Busan was unlike any human settlement in the galaxy. Buildings grew from crystalline foundations that could repair themselves. Energy systems used alien power cores that could run for decades without maintenance. Transportation used anti-gravity technology salvaged from Vorthak ships. But the most important change was in the people themselves. The survivors of the invasion had been transformed by their experience. They were no longer just miners and farmers. They were warriors and scientists and engineers who had faced extinction and emerged stronger. Dr. Minho presented his findings to the Earth Fleet scientists. The Vorthak Empire controlled dozens of star systems, but this fleet represented their main military force. With it destroyed, their remaining worlds are vulnerable. Admiral Park understood the implications immediately. "You're suggesting offensive operations against alien worlds. I'm suggesting that humanity's expansion into the galaxy just became much easier," Minho replied. We have their star charts. We have their technology, and we know their weaknesses. Commander Jiwan looked out at the bustling colony where humans and salvaged alien technology worked side by side. Children played in streets lined with glowing crystals. Engineers modified alien machinery to serve human needs. Scientists studied star charts showing the locations of dozens of formerly hostile worlds. What are your orders? Admiral Park asked. Jiwan smiled. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them New Busan is operational and ready for expansion. We have technology to share, worlds to explore, and a galaxy to claim. The message that went out to Earth was brief but momentous. Alien invasion repelled. Enemy fleet destroyed. Advanced technology acquired. New Busan requests colonization ships and military support for expansion operations. The galaxy awaits. In the depths of space, automated monitoring stations belonging to other alien civilizations recorded the destruction of the Vorthak fleet. The news spread quickly among the starfaring species of the galaxy. The soft organic creatures from the small blue world had done the impossible. They had not only survived an attack by the Vorthak Empire, but had completely destroyed their most powerful fleet. The implications were terrifying. On a distant world, an alien council convened to discuss this new threat. The creatures called themselves humans, and they had just announced their presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. What should we do about them? Asked one council member. Nothing, replied the elder. We leave them alone and hope they leave us alone. Any species that can destroy the Vorthak is not one we want to fight. Back on New Busan, Commander Jiwan stood on the observation deck of the new colony, watching ships from Earth arrive with supplies and new colonists. The twin suns were setting, painting the sky in brilliant colors that reflected off the crystalline structures scattered across the landscape. Captain Deho approached with the latest reports. 3 more worlds in the former Vorthak territory have requested protection from Earth. They want human colonies established for defense against other hostile species. And Earth's response? They're sending 10 colonial fleets. We're not just rebuilding, we're expanding, Jiwan nodded. The species that had come to purify New Busan had instead provided humanity with the tools for galactic expansion. Their attempt at genocide had backfire.